Actually, North
So Glennis did she do what?
It's a lobster bisque. It's a soup. It's a little hot.
Oh, you haven't had it yet. It looks good.
Don't talk about it.
It's got a lot
Exactly. So we're going to get together and when he wants to be
I'm not going to print them out and just read everything because they are good. I mean, he is really, really good. Because there's nothing else in the video.
bacon wrapped stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here the whole time, sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I know. I don't think it. I definitely think that it's an issue that people that are struggling, parents get jobs.
Set his mind, set everybody else.
That's a huge problem. That makes a lot
room.
People realize that positions they see that probably helps accelerate property accelerator. As opposed to being like we've all fucked up. But as opposed to everybody being like we've all fucked up. Yeah. That said, no, going forward, make it better. Know that everybody benefits by top position right now, making more money. Right. More money going into the economy. Right. It's good for everybody. Yeah, absolutely. But it's hard to get people to Right. How do you get there? Basically, structures and bureaucracy that are hard to do. Right. Funders might have an idea for solutions, but they have the money. But you know that money isn't always democracy. So you need somebody in one sector to be your aspirations, other sectors. So you have enough cheaper to be like, okay, my truck's going to give me money and use it. There you go. You wouldn't go in and tell somebody to start a startup how to run it. They give them basic money and chance them right how to kind of like apply that ecosystem or the advocacy. But also having accountability, you know, like so I mean social plan, investors, English, their experience. I was in grad school and it's a great ended up in Irvine. So I've been there about a year and a half, but I don't know, perspective
Where is this going to be? On your YouTube?
Yeah, do you...
I haven't tweeted it yet. You did send it to me. So awesome.
Our new staffers, so we're just
getting well fed?
well being.
So you're training him, so you're just like looking for stuff. Oh, that's amazing. And it was low pressure for anyone to do because I'm already drunk. I'm just getting a touch of breath. I'm not really.
No, I believe that. I know.
I mean, I can fake it. I'll let you figure it out. I've never met you before, so you have no idea.
No, but I'm one of your listeners, so. Oh, yeah. No, Wham.
Oh my god, Wham. We talked about Wham when you came to visit the office. It's like feminist therapy. And like women studies courses that I never took.
I know, it is, but it's also, I mean, I actually heard it and I don't know if I ever will. Very, alright.
I feel like I put a lot out there, and so I feel like it's the one listener where I put a ton out there and I get very little back. And I'm like, okay, like I feel like I'm not there. I feel like I'm not feminist now. It's like, I got damn feminist. No, but it's just, but it's not that.
It's a flatbread, it's a bacon.
Spiky.
But I do appreciate it. I mean, the few times, I mean, whenever you do contribute, it's very action oriented. It's very, I don't know, and not just capital on the server. I mean, I really, really try to be active. Yeah, absolutely. There's like
That's not a joke I would feel comfortable making on YouTube. No, however. Right.
It's also kind of run by there's certain people who have a lot more influence on it than others. And that's actually
Johnson was the person who was running. I just think that I love this. You're having beer on it. It might have been like it's the brand side is great, and we have to get to the money side. So we made it the brand side, and she's able to ask them on the money side to get there. I'm just eager to get there. No, I was gonna have some other dinner. I'm really excited tonight. I've been watching Scandal, and so when I got yes, I was excited to watch it tonight. I binged on it. Like this time last week, I had not watched. I watched it. And then I felt like I got to eat the fish, and I was like, where's What's up? That's awesome. It's really sad to have cocktails. It's awesome. It's worth it. I love it, and I love the people.
Are you caught up?
I am so ready to watch tonight. I'm a gladiator.
So there was an episode last season where, so Olivia is African American, her staff, is she the Kerry Washington? Yeah. Okay. So she walks in to meet a high profile client with her white staff. And the high profile person turns to the white person and is like, oh, you must be Olivia.
I love that.
No, I'm Olivia. So it's like how it works in the real world. You assume that it's the white person that is
Right? And the way they handle race is very subtle. Like with things like that, they don't talk about it. The only time they talk about it is they talk about it. It's like, wait, are we already on? Live stream? We're live stream. Oh my god, I could just go to like, what's up? I didn't realize that we were actually there showing.
awful. But that was
Hi, Rachel.
It's, I know, sticky, delicious snacks, whatever. Hi, I'm Rebecca. Yeah. Are you Rachel Score? Oh, great. Nice to meet you. Piazza. I don't think that much. Okay, great. I have seen your name.
Oh, and you're environmental writer. Oh, very cool. You guys have a good explanation of the understood and mind of code in relation to healthcare.
It's really good. Yeah, we actually found that. This guy think about it. It's so good.
Yeah, that was really good. I like that.
I'm sorry, this is Tia. Tia.
You run when DC.
I know there's so many different screenings. Like, we're not having the same audience.
we're firmly pro-life, but when he's doing regulation is wrong, and then regulation is really apart. And so
You want to try some?
One day.
group kiss, so just everybody kiss. We're going to begin the very light, informal part of our program with a double M and an E just now. Hooray! So everybody grab a drink, and I'm going to sit with the authors of Compelling People and talk about how we can all be more compelling. Even though it almost seems an impossibility looking at this group. Alright.
And there is a camera back here. I'm no longer paying
Yes. You hold it.
I hold it?
Yeah, you guys are right now, you're my damn way. Yes. Okay. So now, you're both very compelling. John and Matt are the authors of this fine book, Compelling People, and the co-host of this party with the list is Marie Claire, which has published their fantastic New Guard list in this issue, which the list is cover. And those two things come together in the form of awesome woman, owning it, killing it, working it, being badass. And so you're allowed to put the,
There you go. That's very funny.
And so because in addition to providing fantastic networking opportunities for fabulous women so that they might know each other and work with each other and benefit from those relationships, we also try to have like a cerebral part, because the list is very cerebral, as you all know, because you are all very cerebral. And so we want to talk about like the practicalities of being a badass, fantastic, kicking ass and taking names woman. And there's no better place for that than DC, unless maybe New York, where I am from. I'm just kidding. We're very excited to be here, the home of our authors. Please come in. Yes, we'll keep the door open. But I really want to talk about sort of all of the different ways in which you don't even realize that you're being judged, and the different ways in which you can sort of fortify yourself against that. And that's really what the book Compelling People is about. I mean, I don't want to presume to talk on behalf of John and Matt, but basically, I love that book, and I knew about it before it actually was a book, because John was the first person who coached me for television back in 2007 and told me that it was important that I convey both strength and warmth, so that I seem like a person who had conviction and was powerful, yet was also likable and someone who seemed like a viewer might think that I was on their side. And that's the balance of how competent people are perceived. And
so what was that? Gosh, like, I don't know, almost a decade ago now, he wrote this book that was about the psychology research that tells us that we judge each other super quick, right? So you didn't even have to talk for a minute before you had some kind of impression of that person. And that person, of course, had some kind of impression of you as well. What Blink didn't tell us, because the psych research didn't really know at the time, was how you're being judged. Not how quickly, but how we're sizing each other up. What are we looking for in that instant? And our journey, well, actually, you want to talk about us first?
Talk about the journey, man.
The journey.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So when we started, we actually were both a couple of frustrated speechwriters who would write speeches, and we'd wonder, well, why are some people good at this, and why do they fall flat? And that led us to explore.
Terrible.
It led us to explore some of those same topics that came up in books like Blank. And when we started monkeying around with our initial clients, who were in a way guinea pigs for us to try some things out, we kept finding that there were one of two kinds of things that we'd see. We'd see some people who were cold and confident to the point where they were aloof. And then there were other people who were so warm and they were apologizing for themselves, they were falling all over themselves with a lack of confidence. And we see these two things over and over, and we would have these two sets of strategies for these two different kinds of common challenges. And that led us to this conclusion that Rachel already previewed, which was that there were two things that work here, these concepts of strength and warmth. And damned if there wasn't actually this social science research that validated what we were seeing in this early client work. In the literature, the academic literature, they pretty much focus on competence as a proxy for strength. They talk about competence, and competence is a little bit more, it's easier for academics to measure, but it doesn't really encompass the thing that we were looking at, which was, we talk about strength, and strength is both skill and will. And so competence addresses the skill side of it, but doesn't necessarily address the assertive side of it, the willful side of it. And so we happened onto this stuff in our client work, and then we found this body of research that backed it up. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the sort of magic formula?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So, yeah, just coming out of that, so we got into this speechwriting, well, we were frustrated speechwriters, but also we are generally progressive in our element. And so we work with a lot of activists and progressive politicians, and yeah, and they tend to need some help in this area. And so if you think about what Matt was just saying about the difference between competence and strength. Strength, the problem is if you ask strength, it's like, well, how much can you bench press? And that's not what we're talking about, but it's strength of character. Think about for a second George W. Bush. And by 2004, nobody thought he was confident. But he had this swagger to him that still really deeply appealed to a lot of people. And if, just dating myself for a second, go back to Dukakis for a second, right? Everyone thought he was fabulously competent, but he still seemed somehow with me. And so there's that will, there's that toughness, that's really, and doing both of those, checking both of those boxes at once is very tricky to do. Now, it's tricky for anybody. I'll throw it back to you. It's tricky for anybody, but guys, right? If we're a guy and we're, we stand up straight, which is a good thing to do if you're trying to project strength, but you're sort of friendly and nice, then you are what we know technically as a nice guy. And that's good. There's a little bit of strength there, a little bit of warmth there, because guys are presumed strong. We lift heavy objects and we, whatever. Women are presumed strong or warm? Anybody? Warm. Nurturing and warm and sociable and nice and all of that. But what happens when you project strength? Exactly. Thank you for saying it so we don't have to. Exactly. And so the balance there is much easier for a guy to achieve than it is for a woman to achieve. We have some good news about you, man. Go ahead, try it.
And by the way, I don't need to say anything. You
guys say. Rachel, would you like to talk about? Never mind.
No, you guys are the authority.
Yes, certainly.
So, as John was saying, there are these presumptions, and actually the research came out of research into cultural stereotypes, these presumptions that men are strong, women are warm. These are rebuttable presumptions for everyone, of course, not an individual level, but they are the cultural presumptions that attach themselves to us when we show up in front of a new person, when the sizing up thing happens. And the sort of unfair playing field here is that, as John was saying, if a guy shows that he's a little bit of a nice guy, well then that's just great. He's nice and he's already presumed strong. Women, on the other hand, face this unlevel playing field where if they show their strength, then, as you said, there's the B word, and their warmth takes this. Their warmth takes this tremendously, and my mom would be really upset.
That's not a safe space.
I'll say it.
Their warmth takes this hit, and it goes to even really strange things, like when men become dads, they get a little bit of a boost because now they're seen as rounded out. Whereas when women become pregnant and then they are in a professional setting, now it's seen as, oh my God, their attention's divided, they're therefore less competent in some way. So this is a real...
As opposed to understanding that they're actually even stronger than you would ever have thought, because they're doing all of what they're doing and also carrying a baby.
And oh my God, they're actually giving birth to a child. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's reflected in things like, oh, I don't know, salary. Actually, one quick story on that, and then will you... Do you have some questions?
I will,
okay,
yes.
Fantastic. I'll share one story from my wife, who I wish was here. It's not.
She's very strong, so she was able to say, no, I'm going to
But yes, she's off being fancy and running NARAL right now, which is a good thing for her to be doing. But she told me a story about early in her career when she was negotiating. She was an environmentalist and she was negotiating with a big bank, trying to harass them into changing their lending practices. And there was a colleague who worked for the bank, very high up in the bank engine, was a woman, and she whiskey late into the night, which my wife does do much more so than I do, so that's helpful.
Johnny Walker Black or another color. No, what color?
It matters.
Okay.
What's
What's the whiskey?
Which whiskey?
Yeah.
The answer is a whiskey they've never heard of.
Okay.
Yes, right, exactly. What is it? The basic answer, and there's a lot more discussion of this in the book, which is, as you know, available for sale. But the basic answer is this: that if you are a woman, when we're talking about the challenge that you're facing, we like to quote a certain Texas governor by the name of Ann Richards, who herself, in her famous convention speech, quoted some dude talking about Ginger Rogers. Everybody remember this? Ginger Rogers? So Fred Astaire. Everybody said Fred Astaire was such a great dancer, but Ginger Rogers actually did everything Fred Astaire did, only backwards in high heels. And the reason that we quote that is because that's the challenge that faces each one of you if you're trying to balance strength and warmth. You start female, stay female. You project warmth right there. You project warmth right there.
You don't have to say female. That's
All right. So you're projecting warmth. You need to do what too many women do is avoid projecting strength, so they don't rock the boat. That is not the answer. Go ahead, project strength, assert yourself, be heard, but just know that as soon as you do that, if you want to avoid the B word, if you want to avoid being pigeonholed there, you
or the
have
A
to
word,
or the A word.
Right?
Oh, is that the A word?
Oh, well.
Anyway, there are some other words. You then have to just know that it's also incumbent upon you not just to project the strength, but then to bring a whole ton of warmth to keep you out of there. So it's twice the work. You have to project the strength and you have to project the warmth so that people don't think you're a bitch.
So is that saying like, this is how things are gonna go, and then adding smiley face?
Good news. You like the good news about the changing.
Well, the good news is that if we'd had this conversation 15 years ago, there was a different landscape for women. And 10, 15 years from now, there will be a different landscape where this is, presumably there is progress on this. I mean, when you think about women who were breaking glass ceilings in the early 1990s, they were facing a very fundamentally different landscape than women are today, and the Sheryl Sandbergs of today are projecting a whole ton of warmth in public as well as a lot of strength. And that was just not the case with a lot of the women who were at that level in the C-suite in 1990, 1980s. And so presumably this is gonna get easier, not harder.
I feel like shoulder pads were a big part of projecting strength, right?
They're coming back. They're coming back. I actually have shoulder pads.
Yeah. And you look very strong. But so yes, just quickly before we take some questions, because I think the discussion part of this is the most interesting. But like practically speaking, if there's 3 things that everyone in this room can do, even the dudes, because there are dudes and we love you. What can we do?
And the nice thing about it is that it pairs very well with a genuine smile, an actual happy to be there smile, not there's Southerners in the room.
Like,
yes, no, that doesn't, not bless your heart smile, exactly.
okay, what should I do with my arms? Like, I just want to do that. Should I do this? Should I do this?
Or this, or this.
No, wait, tell me what I should do. Where should I put them?
All right, you want to?
Sure. Okay. So there are so many bad things that
Thank you very much.
kick, hand on my back, all these things. So a reasonably good thing to do when you're looking for a resting position is to remember the game rock paper scissors. This is sort of paper covers rock, but sort of from the side, somewhere between your waist and your hips.
So not all the way down.
So not down in penalty kick zone.
Not
somewhere
up
here.
Interesting, because
Yeah.
this is like help.
And your
right in there.
elbows are kind of 90 degrees or less. So you're not anything up here. You start getting into this please make it end zone, and you also get into weird flipper things, and you get into awkward positions. And so this has got a bad resting position. It's just better than a lot of other positions that are really awkward and weird looking, and you avoid weird wrist angles. And then from here.
Is there anything more aggressive than this? If you want to be more aggressive? I'm not saying I do,
this
but
is
I'm not saying
slightly,
I don't.
remember the church lady, right? This is a slightly
That's
higher.
Shark Tank.
Yeah. Now you don't want to do this. You want to keep your wrists at a pretty good, strong angle. This is a little weak. This is a little weak. That's pretty good. But be careful with this because a lot of people feel like this is a little much, and then they start pointing it out, and then it drops down, and then it looks like an anatomical diagram of some kind, which is not good. So you want to go right like there, and that's higher power.
Hands behind. What about the Wonder Woman pose? Am I supposed to like do this?
If you're smiling and confident, yes, you can pull that off.
Right into
Sure.
the camera. Shoot.
Very good. You want to do?
Yes, Q&A. We can all sit down.
Oh,
Or well, we can sit down.
fine.
You can remain standing and have a drink
Yes.
and do whatever you need to do. Questions, thoughts?
What if we want to tear down the whole paradigm?
Ooh.
Because I mean, your point that it's a lot better now than it was 15 years ago is well taken, but it's because of blood, sweat, and tears. And I know, like, weirdly, 2/3 of the people here, and you've got some serious badasses.
Yeah.
And influential women, obviously, because Rachel Sklar organized it, who are in a position to have the junior women at their workplace, have the junior women in their social circle, have the junior women who are at, if you could.
All of this other stuff, it cuts through. Then people want to join them, and people want to be them, and people want them to be their leaders, because I'm maybe not confident in my place in the world, but that person is. So what's going on with them? That's what makes you the cool kids, and that's what makes people want to follow you. Does that at all speak to that? I don't know.
I guess how do you help women who are
that
not
as a
at that
no.
level?
Yeah. Well, so that is something that you can. That is something that if you can now there are so. Is it the question? How do you feel? How do you get to feel that?
How do you get the people around you to a better place?
Got it. Lifting up the junior women who are working all the time.
Gotcha.
I see. That's a very well. That's.
You buy
Give them your book.
Give them all a copy of that with their bonus check at the end of the year, and have them kind of start, because the interesting thing about that is if they're not quite there, if they're not sort of owning who they are and their role in the world and being totally happy about it, I mean, we often call what we do and the communication stuff that we do unlicensed therapy, because it goes pretty deep in some sense it's about a lot of questions that we all carry around about our place in the world, and so obviously supporting them in any way that you can professionally, but your challenge as a boss, how much you want to take that relationship beyond that to really buck them up. That's actually a good question. I'm not sure I'm totally cooking.
I tend to think making it explicit, putting it out there, I can't even believe the resources that are available for not just women, but people right now. When I think about the idiot I was when I graduated from school and moved to New York and took a job at a law firm, and just the stuff that I didn't know, and the sort of what I had to cycle through until I finally realized in my late 30s, all of the stuff that I had unwittingly been, fallen prey to, and the stuff I didn't realize about myself, and the amount of time I spent, preemptively apologizing for taking the lead. Those were things that it took a while, and this stuff is explicit today in a way that is unusual and new and pretty groundbreaking. And I think that when you make it explicit, it makes it really easy to sort of put it out there, and then by putting it out there, it makes it really difficult to be used.
And the same, you basically just give them that sense that they deserve everything that the privileged class was given. Then they will embody that just by you giving them permission to take that attitude.
One last note on that really quickly. That's not automatic.
No.
That is not a given at all. That there's, you know, a sisterhood empathy thing going on. Obviously, people in this room foster that. But the research, but the research is really clear on this. That women judge other women with the meat in the same way that guys do. And sometimes a little harder because there's a exactly. So knock that shit off. There you go.
Yeah.
So you sure.
She's the
I'll try to go really fast. So you talk about the dynamic of men and women having the warmth perception. What happens when it's the other way around and you're a woman who comes across with the perception of having strength or being aggressive, as Rachel put it, but the warmth doesn't come across, especially if you're doing public speaking, TV, things like that.
Well, or positive, good feeling about the situation that you're in. Think about Bill Clinton, right? Bill Clinton's thing is that he's the last person out of every venue. He wants to meet everybody because he just can't wait to learn from them, or anyway. But he's voracious in his need for human contact and his appreciation of other people. Now, we're not all going to suddenly rewire ourselves like that. But if you want to project warmth, think about the company that you're in and appearing like you're actually happy to be in that company.
I would just add one thing to that too, which is when you are using your strength on behalf of others, when you are, say, in an organizational context, and you make it clear that you're using your strength on behalf of the team, on behalf of the group, on behalf of the organization, that goes a whole long way toward taking some of that penalty of being strong away, because it's clear that you're not doing it for your own advancement, you're doing it for the good of the whole.
The American people will not stand for this.
Or at least the team. And actually for women, it's a great strategy because you're allowed to be strong on behalf of the group. That is not seen as a stereotype violation. That's seen as you taking care of your home. And that's part of the taking care of thing that women are supposed to do. But it also allows you to project a little bit of strength.
So watch his wife, who is Elise Hope, who's the president of NARAL, who is a master at this, at the balance, because she is, you can't pick which one she is. She is so amazingly strong, but she's so amazingly warm. And I'm not just kissing you, you know, I feel like that. I had a whole separate relationship before I knew that she was your girlfriend, no wife. But she, I mean, she really does balance those things, and I think it's also authenticity, because it really comes from really caring.
Yeah.
So it helps to really care.
So
And if you don't really care, it helps to think about something you really care about. I guess.
Yeah.
But that's not in the book.
There are a couple of, I would love to talk about authenticity, but there are a few other people with it.
Yes, Melissa, you have a
What I was
question.
just gonna say, as someone who rocks the boat
Yeah.
a bit, so how do you balance that? So for me, it's really hard because you're working on like super serious, dark, depressing issues, and so the idea of being warm almost seems like you're supposed to be, hey, super smiley, but like people are being evicted from their homes. So how do you balance that in a way when you're in your head and you're thinking about all the bad things that are happening, but you're also coming off accessible?
Yeah. You want to?
And I'm really bad at that. I fail.
So basic answer, warmth does not always mean happiness.
Okay.
Those are different. If somebody is suffering and you're all like Troy McClure on them, that's not going to be good, right? You need to empathize with where they are at. That's what's warm in that particular situation. But you also have to balance that so you're not always Debbie Downer, right? You know that phrase? Yes, exactly.
I think in general it's the best way to be. But I get guys who are kind of mansplaining or kind of assuming that like I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I do.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've handled the situations poorly. I sometimes don't know how to react when they're trying to like prove themselves, or they're trying to like, oh well, I want. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Like trying to sort of be that devil's advocate kind of person when I just want to like work together on a project and make something happen.
Who doesn't love a mansplaining devil's advocate?
So I guess my question is, what is the best reaction? Like, should I try to join the pissing match and like, shut them down, even though that's not really what I want to do? Like, I'm curious about what to do in that situation.
Go ahead.
I guess what I would say is, in general, you want to meet strength with strength and warmth with warmth. And if they're challenging you with strength and you show them warmth, they're going to think they can roll over you. And so, how to bring that strength?
Well, you can, but it's not going to demonstrate your strength.
But non-linear.
So there could be two different motivations. One is like you're saying, they're showing off. They like to hear themselves talk. They don't actually care about you or what you think or whatever.
Right.
They're
I
just
guess
doing
that's
their own
usually the
thing.
case.
Yeah, in that case, just you can ignore them or find another job or whatever. The other one though is if they're directing it at you. Oftentimes this happens where communication is a test of strength. They want to see if and this happens all the time in this town, not just there, where you're talking to somebody and you're not really tight with them, and they drop a name into the conversation or an acronym into the conversation or some term into the conversation, and you can tell they're looking at you to see if you're like, oh yeah, yep, and then you can give them another term back, right, that you can hang. And so in that case, it might be worth exactly doing what Matt's talking about, and you know, if you can bury them, so much the better, right? If you know, if you can be like, yes, that, and also these other 4 things that you didn't think of. There's some, that then establishes the relationship. You are projecting strength commands respect. And so if they are testing you and you want to stay in this workplace and be respected, then yeah, you kind of got to bring it.
We have time for one more question, and then we'll just have drinking and appetizers. So this is interrupted the flow of appetizers, so that's also strength and warmth. Final question. Who's got one? Sarah.
Just an easy one. Write my salary negotiation.
Where can you get the book? Yes.
Right there. But write my salary negotiation speech. Oh my God.
Yeah, just
Okay, I'm not going to read the speech here, but I'm going to tell you to know the market and know the market of the people in your position and know the market of where you want to go, and then go and ask a similarly situated dude what he would ask for.
What about if you are in a situation where the job that you have is not one that is easily identifiable in the marketplace? 10 years experience doing things.
Right.
And
10 years experience doing anything has a lot of value.
Right, right. But you need to negotiate your salary, and
So
where do you go?
here's what I would suggest. This won't be the speech verbatim, but it may be more helpful than that. So first of all, decide ahead of time what your number is. And you got to get you, before you walk in, yes, no, yes, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. No.
Do it in front of a mirror in the bathroom,
Not during, no, what you're doing is before you're going to spend a couple minutes in the warm-up routine, not the interview going this. I'm so sorry, that is an important detail. So in that, what you're going to do is you're going to psych yourself up in part by physically changing the way you feel on the inside. If you do this, the sort of king of the world, king and I, whatever you want. If you do this and you hold this for a couple minutes, what the research says is, just like if you'd won the World Series, you would jump up like this, that by holding this, you work those circuits in reverse. And holding this posture lowers your cortisol, which is the butterflies in your stomach, which makes your voice graver and all the rest of it. And also raises your testosterone, which is a good thing in this case, even for you guys. And you do this for a couple minutes and you hold it. Actually, you all have glasses now, but if you do this, it feels great. It starts to tingle. It's like, wow, that's great. And you start to feel more relaxed and more confident. It's not this, it's this. Yeah. Or that. Yes, taking up more space, moving around. And the importance of that is that if you do that, if you physically loosen up, if you walk into the room like that, yeah, $300,000. What do you say?
But to be clear, you're not walking into the room like this.
No.